Hey friends and book lovers, welcome back. Today's video, as the title of course suggests, is the Nerdy Narrative book tag. This was created over at the Codex Cantina, I think, and they are really close friends of Leslie's over at the Nerdy Narrative. And so since her birthday was earlier in March, they created this wonderful Nerdy Narrative tag in order to virtually celebrate Leslie, whom we all love. She is amazing. She's so welcoming. I love watching her channel. It's one of my favorites. Her tastes are super widespread. She enjoys fantasy and sci-fi like I do, but she also sprinkles in some horror, some I think contemporary. She reads classics. So she really does try a little bit of everything where the book world is concerned, and she is definitely a welcoming member of the community and in no way a gatekeeper for books. So you'll see her reading anything and just being really supportive of all of us, and it's just so much fun to talk books about her. So when Andrew at Get Right On In tagged me, I was super excited to join and be able to celebrate Leslie in this fantastic way. So hopefully y'all enjoy this video, and hopefully Leslie, you especially enjoy this one. So the first question is science fiction. What is a futuristic or imaginative element in a book that you are glad is not real? And I'm gonna have to steal Andrew's answer for this one. He said intergalactic war, and I also am just really happy that there's no intergalactic wars going on right now, and hopefully that won't ever happen. I don't know if that's wishful thinking, but I hope that's never gonna happen. The other answer I have for this is like AI taking over the world. That seems to be a super common theme in sci-fi, and that just totally scares the living crap out of me. So hopefully that will never actually come to fruition. And I feel like as a fantasy reader, I'm looking at more sci-fi stuff because I feel like the scary parts of science fiction have more of a chance to actually become real in this world than anything in like fantasy would. So yeah, let's hope that neither of those things ever happen. The second question is horror. What has been the scariest moment for you while reading a book? So I don't read a lot of horror. I need to dip my toes in that genre because I'm interested, but I'm also a wimp. I do not watch scary movies, especially if I'm going home alone, and I do not read scary novels, and especially not at night. So I don't have a ton of scary moments or books that I read that have scared me, but I have had moments where I'm reading like a thrilling part of a book and it's kind of creepy and atmospheric and I'm not really sure what I'm getting into and I'm really absorbed, and then something drops, either the apartment above me or something in my apartment drops or anything like that, and it just makes this huge loud sound. I will jump 9 feet in the air as this is happening because it is one of the scariest experiences. So luckily it wasn't during a horror novel. I think it was just during a thrilling part of a fantasy novel, because if it had been a horror novel, I just can't even imagine. My reaction would have just been so much worse. So let's hope that never happens, but I'm sure it'll happen one day. The third question is fantasy. What would you import from a fantasy world into our own? And listen, if I could have any wish in the world from any fantasy, it's just magic. Magic in all forms. I just want the world to be super, super magical. I want all kinds of magic. I want to have magic. I want to be able to use magic and wield magic and see it or feel it, whatever. And that's my answer. I know that might be a broad answer to say all of magic, but I don't care. This is my wish, and if it's a wish that I could make, it would be all of magic. Like, why wouldn't I go big? I'm gonna go big, and I'm gonna say all of magic. I just want real magic in this world, all of it. I'll take every single drop. So the fourth question is comic or manga. What's a comic you enjoyed or one that you have wanted to check out? So there are two that I've really enjoyed. The first one is a fantasy based manga and it's called Monstrous, and I've only read the first one, although I have all 4 of her volumes, and I think the 5th one either came out last fall or is coming out fall of 2021. I really enjoy the art style in Monstrous. If you've seen my videos, you'll see me flip through the pages, but I love the art style. It's really dark, it's really grim, and it's very, very high epic fantasy. It's hard for me to describe what Monstrous is about, so I would just check out the synopsis if you're interested. But it is this just badass female protagonist who has these powers, and there are different factions of characters that are kind of at war with each other, and I think she gets caught in the crosswire. It's overall just a really cool concept for a comic, and the art and the style of the way the story is told is really compelling to me. So it's one that I discovered because of BookTube and one that I'm going to keep reading. The other one that I really love is called Fence, and this is kind of a contemporary romance LGBTQ plus comic, and I think it's young adult or directed towards young adults. I should mention that Monstrous is targeted to adults. It does get pretty gory and graphic, so. But Fence is this super sweet, heartwarming novel about basically a fencing team at a private school. You have the underdog who is the main character that we follow, and you have the superstar athlete who gets accepted to the school just because he's so amazing and they wanted a superstar. Then you have the captain who is a really good fencing player but is a really good leader. And then you have your other players too. You have these kind of tensions in the team, both good and bad, and then you have these tryouts and folks that really want to be on the team. So the first few volumes, the ones that are out currently, are following the underdog and seeing if he gets onto the fencing team because he's there on scholarship, so if he doesn't make the fencing team, he can't stay at the school. So the stakes for him are pretty high, and there is a lot of animosity towards him from certain players, and there's also a lot of competition to get on this team, both friendly and unfriendly. So I really love it. I find it super cute and heartwarming, and I'm always looking to see if more have been released, but it's just a super cute, heartwarming comic, and it is LGBTQA plus, so it's super inclusive, and it's in a high school setting, so I like it. The manga that I want to check out, I want to check it out both in the just manga book form and then also as the anime. I've heard that both fandoms are really different because the manga and the anime differ from each other so much, and that's Death Note. So I want to read the manga in book form first, and then once I'm finished doing that, which might take a while, I want to watch the anime and kind of compare the two and see what I think of them and which one I like better. I don't know the differences between them, and I kind of want to stay in the dark for that, but that is one that's high on my radar. It's one that I heard about through BookTube, but also through friends who have watched the anime, and it's one that I'm really eager to check out. The fifth question is literary fiction and classics. So what's a classic book you've been meaning to get into but haven't yet? I have one answer that I prepared, and then I have another answer that's inspired by Leslie. So the first answer is going to be 1984. Now, I've started this novel years back and I never finished it. I don't know why. I didn't consciously put it down and DNF it. I think I just put it down and then life got busy and I never got around to reading it again. But some of my favorite stories are dystopian stories, and I know that I'm gonna love 1984. I just need to actually sit down and get through it and read it. The part that I did read, I really did enjoy, but then life just got hectic. That's one that I want to read and finish hopefully this year. The other one that I want to read is one that Leslie mentions, and because she's mentioned it and she loved it and she's raved about it, now it's on my list, and that is Their Eyes Were Watching God. Now, I'm not even sure what the premise is for this book. I've heard of it many times. I have not read the synopsis for it, but she raves about it. She says it's amazing, and I want to check it out pretty much solely based on her review. So thank you for that one, Leslie. The sixth one is The Busy Bee. What book would you like to share with all your friends? So with my BookTube friends, I probably share books that I know they haven't read, and I have done this with several of them, and that would be The Gilded Ones and also Space Between Worlds. So The Gilded Ones is this YA fantasy, which I think is kind of grimdark light version of that, or a grimdark YA version of the actual grimdark, because it is gory, it is violent, it is very dark, but it is such a great novel, and oh my gosh, I love it. It is just so good. It's the beginning of a trilogy or a series, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait for the second one to come out, and this one only just came out in February, so that is definitely one that I want all my friends to read, and I also want to hear their opinions because I have some friends who have similar tastes to me, and I wonder if they would also like this type of novel. The other one is Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. And I should mention The Gilded Ones is by Namina Forna. So Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson is kind of a sci-fi novel, and it's a multiverse novel where characters can travel between the multiverse, and it's also a mystery crime type of feel to it too. So there's a lot to unpack there, but it is so cool. It touches upon so many things that parallel our own world, and parts of that are really hard hitting. You also get to explore characters but as their doppelgangers, and that parallel is also really interesting to me. So I really enjoyed seeing all the different versions of one character. It really makes you think of all the different versions of yourself in some way, and I love that premise. That book is great. There's also a light sapphic romance, which I did enjoy, and it did bring the stakes a little higher and help with the story. So I'm not going to give any more away, but you'll see what I mean if you read it. If you read it, let me know, because it was my favorite book of 2020. The seventh question is influencer. If you could have influenced an author to make a different decision in a book, what would it have been? This is a hard one. It's a good one, but it's a hard one. I don't think that I'd ever tell an author not to do something. I haven't come across a book where I really wanted a different ending. I've come across a book where I didn't like an ending, but for me, my mind is always like, well, that's just the way that is in their world. It's kind of like in life. There are just certain things that I wish I could change sometimes, but you can't really dwell on that because then it just throws you off the rails. So I just kind of take it as it comes, and I'm just like, well, that's what happened in life, so gotta deal with it, gotta find a way around it, gotta find a way through it, and that's how I take the plots and the endings in my books. There's one thing that does irritate me in books though, and this happens actually in a lot of Sarah J Maas's books, and even though I adore her as an author, there's something that she does that I really dislike, and that is when her badass female characters end up giving up their powers in order to resolve something in a plot. I really, really don't like that, especially when you have these badass male characters that didn't have to give up anything and they're still all powerful. And so I don't know why that happens in her books, because they're so positive, they're so female oriented, you have these amazing female characters, and then some of them have ended up giving up their powers to help out in a plot, and I just don't think that's fair. So that is really irritating. So if I can have that removed from her books, I would be happy. I do wonder if any of you Maas fans feel the same way about that, because that is something that has always stuck out to me in her books and continues to irritate me and scare me when I'm reading a story. The eighth question is the birthday wish, and it is, what book do you want for your birthday? So my name is Allie, and I have a book buying problem. My birthday is in late October, so by the time my birthday rolls around, I'm sure that I probably will have bought these books. But if my birthday were right now and someone was asking me right now what book I wanted, I'd probably want a hardcover version of almost any Elise Kova book, because her books are so beautiful. Both the Dust Jacket and Underneath the Dust Jacket are really, really stunning books. She's also self-published, and I feel like her work is probably really good. I haven't actually read one of her books. I think the first one that I'm going to read from her is actually called A Deal with the Elf King. I think it's going to be really amazing. And then I think also next month we're reading the Air Awakens series, which is a fantasy romance series, and I'm excited for it. But I've just heard that she's just really amazing, and I've seen her books and I would just really love a hard copy because they are so beautiful, and I do love to collect beautiful books. The other series that I would want, because it looks badass and because I also want to read it, is the Wounded Kingdom trilogy, and I think these are all the assassin books, and I love anything with assassin on the cover or in the title. As long as it has assassin, I'm already there, I'm already hooked. So that would be a trilogy that I do really want to get into. And the ninth question is the invite. So this is where I tag people to do this tag, and I went through, and I'm pretty sure everyone that knows Leslie would have already done it. So honestly, if you don't know Leslie and you want to do the tag, I encourage you to, one, go to Leslie's channel, check it out. She's amazing, you're gonna love it. And two, do the tag. You can tell people that I tagged you. I'm happy to tag you after the fact too. But right now I'm just gonna open this up and say, do the tag to anyone who wants to do the tag, and go check out Leslie. Her channel is amazing, and she's also an amazing human, so you should check out her Discord. I love to hang out there and talk about books and other random things. It is a great time. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you agree with any of my answers, if you have any answers of your own, and feel free to include any books that you're currently reading and that you think would fit any of the questions down in the comments below. If you like this video, please click the like button. That does help me out. And if you do feel so inclined, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel.